good night, everybody. Somebody say getting big? Oh, God, Sainty, that's not true, right? Oh, getting gray. Well, I think I have a lot to be gray about. I think every Bajan today has a lot to be gray about. So I have come to Top Rock, not just in support of the candidacy of a brilliant team of new BLP candidates. William Dugan is renewed, so I think we could call him new again. But I've also come here because the Barbados that we used to know, the Barbados that we used to love, is fading fast. And every day I ask myself, how much longer? And I try to answer by saying, not much longer. How much longer? Not much longer. How much longer will the people of our country have to stand by and endure the daily antics of a bunch of clowns who masquerade as a government? And I say not much longer. You know, I remember well the time when Barbadians were proud to be Bajans, when our country was not the laughing stock of the region or the developing world. I remember well when I would travel all over the world and hear people talk about the Barbados model, because in those days, Barbados was something that people wanted to be like. It is not so long ago that this country had the benefit of good stewardship and of proper leadership. But you and I have had to stand up. And when I say you and I, I'm not talking about the BLP family. I'm sure that there are some BLP people here. But this meeting is not about preaching to the converted. This meeting is a meeting to allow us to reach out to those who may still have some doubts. Reach out to those who may not be sure what they are going to do when the next election comes. And don't tell me that Christmas time is not a time to have a political meeting. Because any day that the Barbados Labour Party seizes the opportunity to educate Bajans, it is a good day. We have stood by, or we have been forced to stand by, and watch 16 men and women destroy a country of 280,000 people. I do not know where else in the world that is happening. 16 men and women have brought our country to its knees and brought Barbadians to a place of shame. If you had any doubt, and you know this, from 2008, they were ushered in on a wave. And they were singing the praises of Sweet Davy and brilliant Chris Sinclair and this and the next thing and the third thing. But from 2008, you think the only slippage was in the Scotland district? From 2008, our country started to slip. And we are now in a shameful place. I love listening to Carrie Simmons speak, but I am not going to talk about those things. Suffice it to say, though, that anytime the government can close a beach and the minister can go and open it back up, then there's something wrong. And I speak to you as an individual who has served in our cabinet. And I know that when decisions are made on the behalf of a cabinet doesn't just go and decide, man, you do foolishness, so I change in this. There's a process. And perhaps that is a good place that I could begin to talk about over the next few minutes that I have with you. You will have seen over the last few days a lot of attention being paid to the fact that 3 government ministers have refused to appear before the Public Accounts Committee. They have said that this is a witch hunt by Ms. Motley. Well, you know, the thing about a witch hunt is that it must have witches. But this is not about a witch hunt. This is about accountability. And I want to carry you back to 2008, when one of their campaign promises was that there would be a new accountability and transparency in our country. Now, we took those things for granted when we were in government, but they wanted to put it into pretty words. We accepted that we had to have accountability, but they decided to put it in the manifesto and promise that there would be a new accountability. And that every turn when an opportunity arose for them to stand tall and by their conduct manifest the word of their own manifesto, they run and hide. Now, it is against the rules of Parliament for me to tell you what is said and done in the Public Accounts Committee. So I cannot tell you about the many things that we have discovered that have brought us to tears. I can't tell you. But I can tell you that in our judgment, we felt that the time had come when the 3 ministers responsible for discharging those 2 housing projects, 2 ministers of housing and a minister of finance, who act in your name and mine and who spend your money and mine, should come to the Public Accounts Committee and say to that committee, this is the justification I had for making my decision. I was in part responsible for the construction of the prison. And if I were summoned to appear before any committee, I would not only consider it my obligation, I would consider it an honor to stand up and defend every single decision that I made every single day while that prison at Dawes was being built. That is what accountability is. But we have a population now that is seeing before their very eyes 3 government ministers who are saying to the institution of Parliament that you cannot touch me. You cannot touch me. Now, you know, as Attorney General, a former Attorney General and a shadow for the Law and Order portfolio, it does not cause me too much brain power to figure out why law and order is going to hell in our country. It doesn't take too much to figure it out. Because when 3 ministers, and that is only in the last few weeks, because I am still smarting from the conduct of a minister who brandished a firearm at me, and up to now has not appeared before the courts, up to now has not been sanctioned by Parliament. So this is not new. But yet still we want to savage our young people for the decline in law and order, when our ministers of government, by refusing to hold themselves accountable for the public trust and to the public trust, they refuse to set a proper example. Go ahead. Now that causes me concern. That causes me concern. It is unseemly for them to rely on legal technicalities to escape appearing before the Public Accounts Committee. The Public Accounts Committee is not made of savages. If they feel that they have to bring their lawyer, bring their lawyer. But we want to ask some simple questions. We want to ask questions that the Auditor General has asked. Now, when you have government ministers who feel that they are not accountable to the people, then what that means is that as far as they're concerned, they can do as they like. And it carries me back to the days of the early 90s when a prime minister on their side said what? You could like it or you could lump it. And so these three ministers now, a bareback minister, Kerry Simmons, he took off his clothes. I only saw from the chest up. You had him. You had a man named Michael Lashley, well known. I'm not going to even go into details about him. And the Minister of Finance. But you know, the problem is, and Kerry averted to it when he talked about David Eswick writing a letter saying, don't meet with the Minister of Finance. I remember Owen Alpha called them a bunch of wild boys. And all hell broke loose. How he could say that. But every word he said about them was true. Every word was true. And so you and I have to endure another 1 month, another 2 months, another 3 months, perhaps another 15 months until Fronda Stewart calls an election. We have to endure a don't care-ish attitude from people who are elected to be servants of the people. But at this point in time, they do what they please. A Minister of Finance could agree that the Barbados Water Authority could spend over $60 million on a new headquarters building while people in my constituency did not get a drop of water for 10 months. And they could only agree to do that because as far as they're concerned, the people in St. Joseph don't matter. And the people in St. Thomas don't matter. And St. Andrew and St. Peter, parts of St. James, St. Philip, 1/5 of Barbados did not matter enough. And so when they had to make a decision about spending $60 million on a new building or providing water for our citizens, as far as they were concerned, the new building was more important. It suits the Democratic Labour Party, and you know what, with that water thing, people ask about the power of an opposition. I am proud to be part of a political party that was willing to stand up beside me in St. Joseph and help to agitate for a quick solution to the water problem. It took the Barbados Labour Party to get David Eswick and the Water Authority up off of their backsides to deal with the situation. I will remember last December, the CEO or the General Manager of Water Authority said, well, it is global warming. It is this. It is that. Every single reason under the book why we could not get water. Parts of rural Barbados are slipping away. You saw it on the video White Hill. You know, it is only when you have to live in these conditions that you really understand it. In a way, I envy the people who live in Christchurch. Because for the most part, they don't have no water outages. No. You do not know what it feels like not to have had water since Christmas Eve last year. And it's almost Christmas Eve again. With due respect to you, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what slippage is like. Our road infrastructure in St. Joseph and other parts of rural Barbados is disappearing. Disappearing. And the government just does not care. We've said that it seems as though they're doing these things because we are BLP constituencies. I don't know if that is true. But, you know, we had some stalwarts in our party that used to talk about two Barbadoses, Louis Tull and Sir Richard Cheltenham, and it has come to pass. We now have two Barbadoses, a Barbados for the rich and a Barbados for the needy, a Barbados for the haves and the haves-nots, a Barbados for the sufferers and a Barbados for those who are prospering. When we were last in government, we promised to create 30,000 jobs. We did not say we were going to create 30,000 jobs for our Barbados Labour Party supporters. We were going to create, and we did create, 30,000 jobs for all Barbadians. All Barbadians. Because as far as we were concerned, Barbados is only a country if we can all stand as one. But now our country is divided between the haves and the have-nots. But the Barbados Labour Party is here to bring well, I don't want to say salvation because we can't bring salvation in the body, but we can bring solutions to this problem. Now, we've heard all the talk about a party that is disunited. And it suits the Democratic Labour Party to spread all kinds of vicious rumors, tell people that we are not united, that we can't govern. But every single step that we take as a political party, every single step is a step taken in unity. Every step that we take is a step that we take together. Because as far as we are concerned, Barbados is for all of us. Now, I want you to consider just a few things before I wrap up. In our country, there is virtually nothing that works anymore. How is it acceptable that in the year 2016, a schoolboy who has to go home and do homework has to wait for 5 hours for a bus? How is that acceptable? How is that acceptable that thousands of hard-working Barbadians, instead of being able to make their way home, get a little rest, and start on another day, are held captive in a bus stand? And a government that does not seem to understand what that does to the health, to the mental health, to the physical health, to the well-being of families. This is 2016. Nobody should be waiting 1 hour for a bus, far less 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But the Democratic Labour Party, a party that is full of ordinariness. There's nothing about the Democratic Labour Party, a party that is filled with ordinariness. The Democratic Labour Party, a party that does not excel at anything except imposing hardship, continues to stand up every day and drag our country greater and greater into ruin. I'm not an economist, but the economists tell me that Barbados is the only country in the world that is still talking about a recession. I understand that all the other countries and all the other leaders, they've done talk about recession ever since. But as an excuse, it is the only crutch that Chris Sinclair has that he can hold on to. That's all he has to hold on to. The recession, the recession, the recession. But in this recession, they can spend $7 or $8 or $9 or $10 million on a wasteful, stupid exercise to celebrate 50 years of independence. I wonder what they will do for our 51st. You know, I said that I was not going to be part of the government celebration. I am almost an independence baby. I value our independence. But I felt that as a government, we should be demonstrating that the people as a body was our priority. How do you celebrate 50 years of independence and 5 hours waiting on a bus? How do you get that work? How do you celebrate 50 years of independence but living in White Hill? How do you celebrate 50 years of independence but still have to go to the very standpipe that your grandparents went to 50 years before? But the government felt it was all right to divert $7 million from buying bandages and toilet paper and aspirin and alcohol at the QEH and spend it on fireworks and Rihanna. Because as far as they're concerned, it's just another fact. Don't go too far back. You will remember that just after the election in 2008, every time the government had out a house key, it was a fact. Whenever they opened a road, it was a fact. Dollars after dollars spent on caterers and big drinking. Fact, fact, fact. And 8 years later, into an administration, our country is suffering, but all that the Democratic Labour Party can still see is fact, fact, fact. You believe that the Minister of Tourism went into the sea because he wanted to prove the water was clean. I suspect he went into the sea because he had a big hangover after all of the fetting. I worry about the Barbados that is being created today. It is a Barbados that unfortunately is beset by lawlessness. The criminal element in our country is holding us to ransom. We have a justice system that is falling apart at the seams. It is not serving the needs of the people. It is not serving the needs of the business community. I have to ask myself, what do the Democratic Labour Party ministers go to work for every Monday morning? I know they get a paycheck at the end of every month. They may get an envelope here or there. What are they going to work for every day? I have been part of a government that understood that our only mission was to serve the people. Oinafa used to say we were elected to stop poor people from being poor. The Democratic Labour Party has been elected and has promptly made poor people poorer. And the ones who had before now don't have. What a difference. And it did not take 50 years to do it. Our country has been brought to its knees in only 8. But I want to tell you that after the next election, the Barbados Labour, well, the people in St. George figure out water to chase it with. Somebody said they can't buy rum. We can't even chase with the water. I want to tell you, I want to promise you, that from day one after the next election, whenever it is called, the Barbados Labour Party as the new government will be going to work and rolling up our shirt sleeves and straining our every muscle into improving the lives of Barbadians. We have a government that is concentrating on big houses, fast cars, the latest gadgets, the latest flat screen TV. It is all about them, but it shouldn't surprise you because David Thompson talked about the fatted calf. So it shouldn't surprise you that that is their mentality. But when I ask you the question, how long? The answer has to be not much longer. Because the sure thing is this: an election must come. It must come. They could do all the dog dancing that they want. They can do all the hiding, all the avoiding. They can decide that they're not coming before the Public Accounts Committee, but an election must come. And if you are too big to come before the Public Accounts Committee, I hope to God that you carry home the ministry files when you leave, because the paperwork is still going to be there. And we will be looking into it then. A man named David Thompson said that when they became the government, they were going to do a forensic audit on all the Barbados Labour Party MPs because we were corrupt. We all had bank accounts in the United States, on and on and on. Every single night, they painted the Barbados Labour Party parliamentarians as a bunch of crooks. But I want them to remember Errol Barra's mirror image, because when they look in the mirror, they will see who the real... I am a lawyer, so I don't want to represent myself in a lawsuit. I don't want to represent myself in a lawsuit. Do not despair. We know what it is to bring a country from the bottom and lift it up to the top. We did it for 14 years. We created the 30,000 jobs. We made sure that our university students, our young men and women, that they can meet their dreams, because every year we paid university their due. We made sure that the hospital had what it needed. We made sure the polyclinics had what they needed. We made sure that we took care of every single Barbadian, whether you were a B or a D. I was in a certain government department. I'm going to finish this now, William. I was in a certain government department 2 days ago. And it's easy to make up these stories, but this one is true. 3 individuals called me over, and I went over as a polite marshal boy from St. George, and I wasn't dressed in a suit nor nothing. And they proceeded to tell me how they voted for the Democratic Labour Party last election. But never again. Never again. And I walked away from that government department with a sense of hope. Because the Democratic Labour Party betrayed even their own supporters. And when you turn your back on your own, you are the worst kind of villain. So I want you to take hope. I want you to take hope. And be sure that the fortune of Barbados is going to improve. How long? Not much longer. He can run. They can't hide. An election day is constitutionally due. And when that day comes, it will sweep Chris Sinkler, David Eswick, Michael Ash, it will sweep all of them out of government and install the only proper government that this country has known. And you will then have a reason to celebrate. Good night and God bless.